2024 NFL Combine, well, it continues on. Matthew Berry, NBC Sports, fantasy guru. We're talking a little Arizona Cardinals.
Sure.
Maybe some Trey McBride, who's the darling of this podcast. Tight end one next season? What are the odds, you think?
I have him as a top 5 guy. I actually interviewed Trey at the Super Bowl. We did our show, Fantasy Football Happy Hour from Radio Row, and I told him, I said, I have you 4. I have you 4 next year. I have Laporta, Kelsey, and Hawkinson ahead of you.
Gotcha.
What do you think? And he's just like, I'm going to beat that. So, I mean, like, I love the confidence. And obviously, here's the thing about Trey McBride, right? I'm a big believer targets are earned in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the fact that he kept getting fed, like, that's a guy that was consistently getting open. He's clearly got a connection with Kyler. And so I think the sky's the limit for the kid. We gave him a statistical projection. He's like, I want over. And who knows if that happens, but I love the confidence. Yeah. And obviously, I think he'll be one of the first tight ends off the board in fantasy drafts next year.
Yeah, it was one of those things that showed up immediately when Kyler Murray returned, right? He had the big game against the Atlanta Falcons, kind of the coming out party. It broke an unbelievable record of futility with the Arizona Cardinals in the tight end position. Before that, like, there was nobody, right? Yeah. But, I mean, with Kyler Murray returning, what did you see at the end of the season? It seemed like he started to find his way, seeing the organization really kind of jump in on Kyler Murray and double down, triple down that he's their guy. What do you like about Kyler Murray in the second year in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he's a very talented player. The Cardinals, towards the end there, were a top 10 offense. Mm-hmm. Like, they were moving the ball. Kyler, obviously, is, I think, an underrated fantasy prospect. I think just because the Cardinals season overall didn't go the way it wanted to. He was coming off the injury, and he's sort of almost forgotten guy. But, like, again, you know, he is somebody that, for his career, has averaged 20 fantasy points a game. Like, again, the ability with his legs, the ability to earn points, obviously, with his arm. You know, I thought there was a lot of nice moments from Michael Wilson last year as well. So I think he's excited. I think he's exciting. I have to believe, you guys probably know better than I do, but have to believe that the Cardinals are going to be one of the teams picking a wide receiver early. It's an unbelievable wide receiver draft. Yeah. So whether it's Harrison, whether it's Neighbors, you know, but, you know, having a guy like that with Trey McBride, with Michael Wilson on the outside, assuming Hollywood leaves, you know, like, all of a sudden that's a really interesting offense on a team that was able to run the ball effectively last year.
Well, let's talk a little Marvin Harrison Jr. We on this podcast are trying to will that into existence here.
The only question is whether the Patriots do that.
Yeah, but they haven't earned it. Like, we've earned it. We're ready to go. McBride, K1, Michael Wilson. Feels like the Pats, we talk about this all the time, where the Cardinals were last year, where it's like, you can take Will Anderson Jr., but you can trade down, build your roster for future years. If Marvin Harrison does land in Arizona, like, what do you think best case scenario is year one? Because we got other people telling us, like, top 10 to 12 fantasy wide receiver. Is that too rich for you?
It's a little rich for me just because how good wide receiver is in fantasy football. Again, but and the other problem is the other challenge there is that I actually might buy that more if he goes to the Patriots. As insane as that sounds, because, like, if he goes to the Patriots, Marvin Harrison Jr. gets picked by the Patriots at 3. He's going to be nothing but a target funnel. Like, even though it'll be like Mac Jones or whoever throwing the ball, the fact of the matter is like, he's going to get double-digit targets every single week. Whereas on the Cardinals, yes, he would be a focal point of the offense, but to your point, you've got Trey McBride, you've got Michael Wilson, you've got the human Dortch, Greg Dortch. We love him. Rondell Moore's still around, right? Exactly. You guys use the running back out of the, you know. So my point is that even though it's a better passing situation, a better offense, he may not get nearly as much volume. Top 12 is a little rich for me. I think top 25 is probably, you know, probably fair. I think that generally speaking, he's got that kind of talent. He's got the Jamar Chase type talent. So maybe top 20. I'd have to think about it. Like, you know, I haven't thought about where I would rank somebody. I'd sort of wait till they're landed. But,
for sure.
But there's no question
about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Daydreaming.
Will it to the Cardinals? I get it. I mean, I think he's a generational prospect.
Yes.
Kyler's a very good quarterback. I think that would be a very exciting thing, both for the NFL and fantasy-wise, if Marvin Harrison Jr. will remember the Cardinals.
Yeah, and you talked about the running game, and it seemed to become the Cardinals' identity. Even with Kyler Murray coming back, James Conner was unbelievable, led the NFL as far as explosive runs, right? Runs over 20 yards this season. He's a guy that's approaching 29 years old. Seems like there's still some value, and he'd probably fly under the radar for most fantasy drafts next summer.
Yeah, assuming I assume he's going to be back with Arizona as well, right? Feels like that. So assuming that, and assuming they don't bring in any real competition, all due respect to sort of Mari DiMaccardo and some of the other guys. Assuming he was a sleeper for me last year. He made my preseason love list because I was just like, it's cheap volume. He's somebody that's going in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds.
Yeah.
No one likes him because it's Arizona. We don't think they're going to be any good. And he's got this injury-prone tag. But the fact of the matter is that he's very productive when he stays healthy. And he's a true 3-down back. He doesn't come off the field. Now, his passing game usage last year wasn't what it was the year before, which was a little weird, But yeah, I mean, I think he is somebody who's as good around the goal line as any back in the NFL. He's tough as hell. And it's clear that they want a balanced offense. The thing that we have studied over the years in fantasy is that a mobile quarterback often opens up the run game.
Yeah.
A lot of time there was a lot of thought at some point that, you don't want a running back with a team that's got a mobile quarterback because there's a chance that they vulture at the goal line, They run it themselves. But actually, because you have to keep a linebacker spy on the quarterback, it often opens up stuff for the running game as well. Mm-hmm. And we saw that, I think with James and when Kyler came back, we saw, the year before as well. So
yeah, and Kyler doesn't have the ability to do QB sneaks. We've seen that. Like tush push does not exist in this offense. So I always think it's going to lend itself to James Conner having a pretty robust goal line touch scenario, having an opportunity every year to have double-digit touchdowns.
100%.
I'll tell you a story from last night. We saw you at one of the many establishments here in Indianapolis, and one of the people we were with, it might have even been you, we saw Matthew Berry out and about, and we said, that's the dream right there. Here's a guy that did what he wanted to do. It was a passion play. He's thriving at the level so high that you got yourself into an Avengers movie. I mean, that's the dream right there, Matt Berry.
Yeah, I mean, it actually isn't even the dream because you couldn't dream of that, right? I was asking, people are like, was this a bucket list moment? I'm like, no, I did not. Before I die, I'd like to be in the Avengers.
Right.
It's not something that you ever contemplate as well. But it's fantasy football has been very, very good to me. It's brought me amazing opportunities. I met my wife through it. I had my family through it. But yes. And I also became the highest grossing actor of all time on a per movie basis due to my role in Avengers Endgame because Joe Russo, the director of the Avengers, is a big fantasy football player, was a fan of mine. We got introduced through a mutual friend. We started texting, emailing, we had dinners, we played in a fantasy league together, and then after we've been friends for like 4 or 5 years, he said, hey, do you want to be in the movie? Because I got a role that I think you're perfect for. And it's just like, yeah.
Your skit with both Russo brothers drafting Avengers.
Yes.
A la fantasy football. It's content gold. Go search that out if you have not done so already.
It's on YouTube, and that was through the grace of Robert Downey Jr. It was actually his idea. I'm like, can we do some fun stuff? And he said, let's do an Avengers draft. So yeah.
It's so generous with your time. We appreciate it. Matthew Berry, NBC Sports. Check it out now if you haven't already.